Hello, I'm Vivian McGrath from vivianmcgrath.com, and in this video I'm going to be talking about overcoming people pleasing. 5 signs that you are a people pleaser and how to stop being one. It's exhausting, isn't it, if you're a people pleaser? I mean, I was the worst people pleaser when I was young. I would morph, I was like this shapeshifter, and I'd morph into whoever I thought people wanted me to be so that I wouldn't be judged or I'd be liked and I'd gain the most approval. I'd almost change my opinion to be what their opinion was because I didn't dare express mine, especially if it was different to theirs, because I was very afraid of being judged. I realized later I was very, very insecure, and I learnt later that people-pleasing actually is rooted in insecurity and a lack of self-worth. And I was like a pretzel. I would bend myself in knots. I would say yes to things that I really wanted to say no to. And I don't know, I just found it absolutely exhausting. I couldn't even remember what I said to whom, what opinion I was supposed to have. I was always sort of offering advice to everybody else because I thought I sort of had all the answers and I'd give this advice and I'd look after everybody, and it was really, really, really exhausting. So I realized that it was from a place of insecurity, although I was so good at hiding the person I really was that I actually ended up hiding from myself. I was the best chameleon because I actually thought I was really strong. And if you'd asked anyone who knew me back then, they would have described me as a strong one. The word insecurity, I am sure, would not come into their description of me. But it's from a deep place of insecurity, and it's from this needing validation and approval from others, and that's what people pleasing is all about. So 5 signs that you are a people pleaser. Number 1, you morph into being like other people. You start behaving like them. You start mirroring them because you want to be liked, you want to fit in, you want to belong, and you crave validation from others. So you start to behave more and more like them. You have this need to be needed. So whether that's becoming a bit of a martyr, volunteering for absolutely everything to show everybody how wonderful and caring you are. I mean, there's nothing wrong with empathy and there's nothing wrong with volunteering and helping out and all that sort of stuff. But when it becomes to the point where you put everybody else's needs above your own and it becomes at the expense of yourself, then that is sort of a need to be needed. And you do it because you get validation from other people out of your being a do-gooder, rescuing, that sort of behavior. You also find it very hard to say no. You are afraid of saying no because you don't want to be disliked. You don't want somebody to judge you for saying no. So you say yes, even to things that you really don't want to do, that are far away from who you really are and your core values. You just say no. You say yes when you should set boundaries and politely sometimes say no. You also are afraid of confrontation and conflict. And this is partly why you never say no, because you are frightened that that's sort of standing up for yourself, showing up for yourself is confrontation. And it doesn't have to be, You can say no politely and calmly and assertively without conflict. You're also afraid of anger in other people. You're afraid of other people not liking you if you set boundaries. And So you are very afraid of confrontation and conflict. So you do absolutely everything in your power when you're a people pleaser to avoid that. And usually that means it's at the expense of yourself. You're also very, very good at suppressing your own feelings. And you put other people's feelings and needs way above your own. And because you do this for so long, you end up losing yourself. You don't even know who you are anymore. And you've forgotten what emotions or feelings you should have or have, because you've put this lid on them and you've suppressed them for so long in favor of other people. I'm not a people pleaser anymore, and thank goodness for that, because it really was exhausting. I sort of became somebody I wasn't. I didn't recognize myself anymore. And I didn't really like who I was, because I was this insecure person who always looked to other people for approval. I always wanted to rescue or have the need to be needed, because I wanted to prove myself to others so that they would validate me. But you know, when you're like that, that sort of insecurity is like an empty bucket, and you're constantly needing validation and approval from outside sources, but the empty bucket's got holes in them. It's an empty bucket with holes in it, and so you have to constantly gain approval. You've got to constantly get validation, and you still never feel good enough. So the way to overcome being a people pleaser is not needing that approval from other people and that validation. It's about learning self-love, learning to really accept yourself for who you are and know that you are good enough so that you can find happiness within you. You don't need to look for happiness from outside, from other people or other circumstances around you. So you find that happiness from within. And when you are really high in self-worth and self-esteem and self-love, then you are able to respond and not react. I've done another video on this actually, and I'll put that in the comments below. You respond from a place of strength and security, rather than reacting to everything and everyone around you like an emotional 6-year-old. You know, your inner child takes over emotionally and responds to everything and everyone around you. No, you are a secure, healthy adult, and your higher adult self is able to respond in the way that you choose to. And that's responsibility, the ability to choose the way you respond from a place that is true to who you are and is only going to benefit you and your well-being. And the other thing about having a high sense of self-worth and self-love is that you can learn to say no calmly and assertively when you deserve better and something's not good enough for you. And you can also learn to set strong boundaries so that you protect yourself and you communicate to others what is acceptable behavior to you and what isn't. And I know that setting strong boundaries and saying no at first is really hard, especially if you've never done it before. I mean, I was terrified the first time I had to say no to a colleague who was really bullying me. So I would just advise you to say no to small things at first. Just try it once. Say no. No, I don't want to go out tonight. No, I don't accept it when you are rude to me. I'm really happy to discuss this later, but only when you're not rude and you're prepared to have a conversation that's very calm. You know, say no to small things and say no without any emotion. Take all emotion out of when you are communicating your boundaries and saying no, because that is choosing your response. That's setting your ground about how you wish to be treated, and it's not having confrontation or conflict with anybody. And the more you do it, I promise you, it will get easier. So that is my guide to overcoming people pleasing. Self-love, self-worth, finding happiness from within is absolutely key to that. And honestly, it is so much less exhausting when you're not a people pleaser anymore. So please do try it and overcome it. Because when you're a people pleaser, you just feel like you're at the mercy of absolutely everything and everyone else around you. And you just ground yourself down and, you're exhausted. So you don't want that. Anyway, that's it. I hope you like this video and I hope it's been helpful. If you do, please click the like button, share and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.